Okay, Max, so then I've got some question to all of you. It seems to me that there is a bit of competition between Joomla CMS and Joomla framework. Could you elaborate a bit on this topic?
I don't think it's competition. I think it's confusion. And the framework is moving at a different pace than the CMS can move at. And the CMS needs to have stability and consistency and backwards compatibility. And the framework needs to move at a much faster pace than the CMS can do. So it's not really about competition, it's about serving a different need.
Can you add something?
David, please.
I think that's a very good point. It's not so much that it's a competition between the two. We're serving two different needs, and like I mentioned in my speech earlier, the goal really is to see how the two can work together effectively for the good of the entire Joomla community. So we will see that it's not necessarily competition. I think confusion right now is actually the best word for it, as we clearly define the role of each of those and how they'll best work together so that you as a developer will have the tools necessary regardless of the site type that you want to build.
Yes, Max, can you add something?
As I also said in my speech, Joomla started as a content management system, and I wrote on some post for us, it is just a good set to create web pages. Yeah? And we, of course, we do not use it as a content management system, we use it as an e-commerce system. And I think the idea with to say it's a confusion is very good, because actually in Virtual we use the framework of the content management system, which does officially not exist. Yeah? What David tries to do is to create it as an official framework. When I say framework now to Joomla, it's wrong. When I said it 3 years ago, it was right. Yeah? And I think confusion is really the best thing. There shouldn't be any competition. Sometimes you get rough, sometimes you get loud, sometimes you have a strong discussion, but that's needed. It's not a sign of something that there's something going on wrong. No. Usually that's a sign that we are constructive.
So you said in your presentation that Virtual is based on Joomla framework. It is Joomla framework meant in the historical point of view?
In the historical sense,
okay.
Yes. But we love, of course, to see this platform and shape framework discussion, because we want to, this full installer I just presented in the workshop, should work later on the framework with Virtual, and if the people want, they can make a content management system out of it with the rest of the content management system, Joomla.
Okay, so your next plan is to make Virtual based more on Joomla framework in the new point of view. Is it like this?
Yes, I think that's correct. Yeah.
Brad, you had something?
A different topic. I wanted to ask, in my presentation, I asked everyone, if you call yourself a developer, can you put your hand up? If you call yourself a website developer, can you put your hand up? Okay. Now, to those people, are you really just a website creator? Or do you develop code? Because I speak at lots of events, not just Joomla events, all over the world. And at Joomla events, people who are website creators call themselves developers. At a Drupal event, for example, the people who call themselves developers never build websites, they write code. And I just think it's really interesting that people in the Joomla world call ourselves developers when we're website creators. And I've always wondered why that is, and I just think it's a very strange thing.
I believe it's because Joomla is not so like geek stuff. You know, the Drupal for me it's very geek stuff, and Joomla is more user friendly, more open to public and common users. And developed site is development, yeah. So people call themselves developers. Guys, I've got one more question regarding this Joomla framework and CMS. Could you somehow give us some hints? We've got a project, and whether build it on CMS or framework, are there some like recommendations from your point of view? For example, Radek, can you give us your opinion?
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure if I understand your questions correctly.
Yes, imagine we've got a project and we are deciding either use framework or use Joomla CMS. What are the like points?
I think it depends very much on what I'm going to build, because when you are going to build a website even more complicated, then I will still stick to CMS. When you will build something like, for example, David built the Creamery, right? This is a fully standalone system that makes much more sense to use framework in that case.
To kind of expand on that, because I do a lot of framework development, both for myself and for clients, it usually comes down to what is the purpose of the site. If the core purpose is to have a website at all of any kind that's going to be managing or displaying content, having user sections, having news feeds, having some sort of category structure. If I ever see the need to have any of that in place, then I'm going to be more served to be building on the CMS. If I'm developing an application to serve a unique need, be that project management or customer relations management or some other unique and specific need that not necessarily is a website-driven type of thing, then the framework provides me a faster alternative and a lighter weight alternative. Because I don't necessarily want com web links and news feeds and all the other module stuff if I'm building just one unique application.
I think it's important to point out as well that when we talk about, when David's talking about building something with the framework, he's talking about building it as a hardcore developer. Yeah, and it's not something, there is no extension directory or anything like that. It's pure code. It's libraries and code for you to use and write your own thing from scratch.
Right.
The idea of the framework is to reduce the amount of scratch.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, it's not something you can go, oh, I want to build a website that's a travel map, and it's got the library. The framework has the libraries, but you still have to write the code. Whereas in the CMS world, we know that's not the same way.
Okay, so I probably understand it now. Joomla CMS is more for website developers, and Joomla framework is more for code developers. Is it like this?
Yes, exactly. That would be a fair statement.
We have question.
I have a question, totally different topic. I would like to know how does the economy of Joomla work? Where do you get money for all the activities?
Okay, our budget. So mainly it's a sponsorship from individual donors and Google AdSense, and we have also a contract, for example, the demo site. So when someone is going to buy hosting at a particular company using the demo site, then this particular company is going to pay out money for it.
That's enough.
That's pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's important to point out no one who develops Joomla or contributes to Joomla in any way is paid.
Yeah.
So there is no one who receives a salary. If you're lucky, you might get some expenses, but that's if you're lucky. And that might not cover everything. So there is no one who's getting paid for that. So Joomla itself uses the money for things like marketing money, some hosting costs, some costs. So there are legal costs, and helping events. Every event gets some money to go towards that, and for travel attending events. So the actual needs are not that great.
And the situation with Joomla, is it the same?
I just wanted to say that I actually talked about that. It's actually quite the same system. Everyone takes the code, the GPL code, works with it, creates web pages, works for his own, creates a little bit something for the customer, writes that back in a forum post, that someone says, good idea, writes a good code, make a request, and then it's added to the Joomla core. And I think we in Virtual and Joomla, we have really quite similar ideas. We like that people are self-responsible, that they have their ideas, they take action, that they have passion for their ideas. And passion is usually directly stopped if you pay people regularly. They often lose passion. Yeah.
Okay, and where do you get money for a ride? If you put all your time in development, you have something where you get the money for a ride.
I won the lottery. It's a joke, it's a joke.
So basically, in my case, and I think in most of the volunteers in leadership groups and at all, we are doing it basically in our free time. So I'm a Suski Pro developer, I have a company, I'm regularly developing for this. And in my free time, which is a lot of, unfortunately, lately, I'm spending my free time investing in Joomla future.
So you have another full-time job?
Yeah, of course.
All of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't sleep.
Actually, Virtual is my full-time job. That's made a little bit of difference.
There is a pull request to change time, so we have 48 hours in a day. But there's a few bugs at the moment, but hopefully with enough testers, that will get committed.
Some more questions?
I have a question about Joomla framework. Are there some bigger changes in a framework like for a coder, or something like work with the forms and snippets and Ajax in a new version of Joomla 3.2? I have a question: if are there some bigger changes with working with that?
So I think this is a really good example of possibly some confusion between the two. To reiterate the question, if you couldn't hear, I think the question was in regards to some of the features that are in Joomla 3.2 CMS is in regards to, say, the Ajax forms component that allows you to implement Ajax requests outside of a specific component. And if those same features are relevant or applicable to the framework. Is that a good summary? It's actually not a very good comparison, because the framework really, in essence, only gives you core library classes, and you must write the entire business layer, the entire logic yourself. So in that essence, there's no components, there's no Ajax component that you can just pull into a framework application. You have to write that entire layer, which gives you the freedom to write it how you want. But it does mean that it's something that you have to construct yourself. We are implementing different methodologies for a RESTful service type of situation in the framework, so that you can do calls like that, so you can consume information in a variety of ways besides just displaying on a web page. But I think that is actually leading more to a fundamental difference between the CMS and the framework, where the CMS is more of a already created application that you can add on to, versus the framework, which is just the tools that allow you to create the application. Does that make sense?
Yeah, right. Okay. But do you think it's a bad idea to, add some things to the core of a Joomla, which can, work with the snippets and improvements in parts of these? If I have developing Joomla components and I need to work with Ajax and the snippets, and I want, for example, just to change one snippet in a page, I need to have some utilities or some, things to work with that, and I don't want to program it myself, but I want to, the framework to let me work with something to, work with that.
So what you're actually looking for, to just reiterate and make sure I understand you correctly, are snippets or developmental tools to assist you in CMS component creation as you maybe create new things and you want to reuse some of the tools or code that you've already written or someone else may have already written. And in that case, you're referring very specifically to the RAD layer in the CMS, which would be the Rapid Application Development layer, also known as Framework on Framework. And I think Brian mentioned that in his talk. That is exactly what you're referring to and what you're looking for. It gives you the opportunity to quickly create components for the CMS and reuse those framework level development tools within the CMS. And that's a different topic than the Joomla framework, but that is exactly doing what you're looking to do.
I would have, yeah?
I would like to ask about the move tools to jQuery converter. What is the plan?
I'm not sure actually, but I think in the next version this should be.
You just wanted to laugh. That's all. You didn't want to answer the question.
Yeah, but there's someone working on it at the moment.
Yeah, we actually have a small working group right now that's putting in a lot of time into converting everything from MooTools to jQuery. I would love to say we expect that in the next release, but it's hard to say because it's quite pervasive and quite throughout the entire CMS where MooTools is. And there's a couple of things that we have a little bit of difficulty in converting over. But the goal is to have a full removal of MooTools and replacement with jQuery within the next couple of releases.
So the MooTools will not be viable at version 3.5 or that's
that would be the goal, yes. Yes.
We have here also the freedom thing. MooTools is very, very sophisticated, but very hard to use. So jQuery is easier to use, and I'm very happy that the Joomla guys do the switch to jQuery. That will relieve our life.
Nějaké další otázky?
If Joomla doesn't exist or you don't work on it, is there any other open source project you want to work on it?
So, just a question. Are you saying, if Joomla didn't exist, is there another open source project I would work on? So historically I did. I used to be quite involved in some of the Linux projects. I guess if Joomla didn't exist, I might go back to be involved with one of those.
Yeah, I'm actually involved in Joomla since 2005, so can't remember what I was doing before, but
Sorry, I'm always sorry.
But indeed, I was really a little bit involved in the Linux movement, and I was trying to bug fixing, and I was trying to provide some support for Ubuntu and so on. So basically, I would for sure go to some other open source project. Definitely, yes, because I really love open source in that way, and therefore I love Joomla.
I kind of eat, live, sleep, breathe Joomla these days, but I do also work in a variety of other open source communities as well. If Joomla did not exist and I didn't have the wonderful privilege of doing what I do, I would probably be focused on one of those more heavily. They're more business-oriented open source solutions from a business enterprise perspective. But it would definitely be open source still.
And maybe we would write e-commerce with Symfony. Only thing I got in mind, yeah?
Yeah, I would also try Symfony because I already did, and it's also a great framework.
Why do you spend a lot of time for open source? Is your passion or it's fun for you? Because it's a lot of time and it's for free. Why do you do?
So I can only speak for myself, but every other answer will be wrong if it doesn't agree with me. So I've been involved in open source software since 1990 something, so a long time. For me, it's about sharing, and that's sharing skills and knowledge, and providing the opportunity to people who don't have those skills and knowledge to be able to share in that experience. So just one story to share is 3 days after Gaddafi was overthrown in Syria, in Libya, there was a tweet that I saw for someone offering Joomla website training in Libya. So that was a country that up until 3 days before had a closed internet. Suddenly it's a free country again, and people are getting the opportunity to go online, go on the internet and build websites and share information. And there was someone there saying, hey, I can help you do this, and I've got this open source software to do it. That to me, when I see that, that's exciting. Yeah, seeing a big brand using Joomla doesn't excite me, but seeing that does. So and that really is my motivation for those of us who do have skills and experience to be able to share those and give people who don't have that opportunity, whether that's financial or skills based or technology based, to share and have that same experience.
So I think it's important to understand that what we are doing open source software, it's not about software really. And I agree completely with Brian that it's more about passion for the community itself. I mean, we are, as I said before in my talk, I have been involved really in the Joomla community, in Joomla event. I was before basically open source convinced user, but user, right? And since I was in the very first Mambo Day and then Joomla days, I saw those people talking with each other, and this is really something great, really something very exciting. And I think it's mainly the reason why I'm involved in this community.
I think Radek mentioned the key word, it's passion. We're very passionate about sharing, and we're very passionate about seeing other people succeed. And if we can share our knowledge or our experience with someone else and it improves the quality of their life, it's gone way beyond software at that point. And at that point, it's something that you want to give your time to.
In my case, it's a little bit complex. My mother is a priest. I did humanitarian work for 20 years in Russia. Then I started to be very not religious, spiritual, meditated every day, some hours, while I was studying engineering, automotive industry. And then I decided I don't want to work in a normal industry. I can't take it with my mind. It's just not my idea. And through my work in humanitarian work, actually in Ukraine and Russia, I noticed that it's very important for people to have, if they have an idea for business, or if they have a passion for work, they often cannot live from it. So my idea was to egalize business, and so to help the world to create better economy. A good economy usually helps people to have enough to eat, a warm house, to have friends and things like that. And that was my main motivation. And what drives me, what excites me is, for example, the story about a Greece olive oil company. It was a states company. You know the story of Greece. How is the right English word? Died. it crashed. And 5 families pushed together, asked the German developer using virtual, can you help us? The company is running again, and another name, it's possessed now by 5 or 4 labors, and they sell their olive oil now with virtual art and can make the living. And this is what really makes really happy. Yeah.
Well, I'm in the Joomla project mainly because of the code, and I love to make some module and put it online to share with people, because code without people is like it's that thing, and when people use it, it's a living organism, and that's what I like.
Thank you guys. Thank you for all of you for your free time. It's very good reasons. Thank you.
Okay. So